Hi, everyone. Welcome to Crushing Doubts Q&A, Mondays, as always, at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. I am glad to be back here with you. It's actually one of my favorite parts about Mondays. Every time we get here, I think, well, I get to talk to my community and find out what they want to know about mind-body issues. So if you are new here, I just wanted to put out I guess it can't be a reminder if you're new, but click subscribe, ring the bell if you're, for notifications, hit like if you like what you're hearing, and put your comments below, and I'll get back to you personally. I also do want to just say that we do have our seminars signups up and running now. And so you can go to www.crushingdoubtseminars.org. You can certainly contact me as well, dan@crushingdoubt.org. But the easiest way to sign up for the seminars now is to go to that website, www.crushingdoubtseminars.org. So I'm looking forward to getting started with all of you. That begins on June 7th. And we think that will be pretty much running all the time because it is such a central way that we can get you guys the information you need. And then if you need more work after that, we can certainly touch base and figure it out from there. But it's a great way to get started on knowing what it is that you need, the information you need. And in conjunction with the PDFs I put out, that can be helpful. We do have a new PDF out. It's the 3 columns PDF. Takes you through each of the columns and how to work with it and kind of step by step. It also has an example sheet in it of a mind-body map and then a blank sheet for you to fill out. So all of these can function together. In fact, we are doing a promotion at the moment for the first 50 people who sign up for the seminars that you will get those PDFs for free with your seminar sign up. So let me know if you have questions and we will keep getting you answers about all kinds of things. So with that, I'm going to get to the questions for today. I do have a bunch of questions that are loaded in as usual. Some of them I grabbed from the comments that people made. All the comments are great, but sometimes there's a comment that I really want to highlight because it's capturing something I want to share with all of you. Other times people are sending me emails with questions, or they may be left over from previous weeks that I didn't get to. So we are having a technical issue tonight that's not allowing us to bring up the questions on the screen, but I'm going to read them to you. This one is from Diane L. Would you say that the people prone to mind-body symptoms are often the more sensitive people in our society? In my own observation, I see a lot of people with mind-body symptoms that are relational-based and often fairly sensitive. So there's no hard and fast rule about this, but I would say that it is pretty typical that people who are highly sensitive are what I would call empaths. And that means they're taking in a lot of the emotional sphere, and that does tend to lead to more symptoms. It actually fits in all 3 columns. It leads to the emotional column because you've got more emotional inputs coming in, and it can lead to upsetting things leading to symptoms. It also tends to lead to more doubt-prone people because people who are more sensitive are partly more sensitive because they are better at taking other perspectives. Now, if you're better at taking other perspectives, that's a wonderful thing, but it can also lead to a lot of doubt because you don't have as much confidence in your own viewpoint because you are willing to, take on the role of other people. Now, we've got a comment coming in from Julie Ebby. I hope I'm saying your name right, but please let me know if not. She says, yes, we feel everything. We worry about everything too. Absolutely. It's one of the things I love about this community. It's a very lovable community, but it's not always easy to be part of the community in our own experience because you are busy experiencing everything that's happening from other people. You pick up things the subtle things that go on with people. You're picking it up more than other people. There's a lot of worry to go around with that doubt. It also fits with the power column in that people who are more sensitive are also less likely to feel as comfortable being powerful and less likely to be as comfortable feeling settled within themselves. It's almost like we feel like we owe it to other people to not be settled, to be there for them in case, well, I don't know, are you upset about something? Let me be there for you. So we have a comment from TT. TT. And I've seen you on the comments, but I don't think I've seen you here. So welcome, T. And welcome, Julie. I don't think I've seen either of you on these comments before. She says, I am definitely an empath and always want to fix everything for my family. Well, again, the goodest of the world are my favorite people. There's no question that the world would crumble without us. We do a lot of the work. We tend to be very hard workers. We are very attentive. We're very present. And I'm lumping myself in with you because I certainly am one. And it's a very, very valuable community. And so I am honored to be here with you and have you kind of be my world. You're my people. So what we're going to do, though, is we're going to use the different columns to continue to be just as good as we always were and as good as we always wanted to be. And I'll get to this comment from Facebook in a second. We're going to continue to be as good as we always wanted to be, but we're going to take away a lot of the pain of it by understanding how it functions with the 3 columns. So let me know if there are questions. Julie Abbey says, me too, T. Unfortunately, we can't fix everything, which leads to TMS. Well, that's true, but actually you also can channel a lot of the stuff that's not getting channeled properly so that you can use it to good effect. I'll get back to that in a second. I'm going to take this question from Facebook. I guess this is more of a question than a comment. I cracked my toe about 3 weeks ago and went back to the podiatrist today. He said the pain I'm still experiencing is now due, to an irritated, inflamed nerve. My question is, where does TMS enter with regard to the nerve pain? Also, what proactive steps can I take to not have this turn into TMS pain as opposed to pain resulting from an injury? Okay, a lot in there. First of all, for those who don't know, TMS, because different terms are used in different ways, TMS is tension myositis syndrome. That's what that was Sarno's term for what he called oxygen deprivation to the muscles that led to pain in the muscles. It then became more generalized to mind-body issues, and TMS is a term that you'll hear, but MBS is another, mind-body syndrome, PPD, psychophysiological disorder. I just try to use mind-body issues kind of more globally, but we haven't settled as a community on it. So let's get back to this question. Thank you for bringing that back up. Well done, Greg. Okay. So first of all, I'm sorry you cracked your toe. That's no fun. But the pain you're still experiencing now being due to an irritated, inflamed nerve sounds to me like the kind of thing that a doctor who only understands from a structural basis would say. It doesn't. It really requires some assumptions to get there. You know, the assumption is that, well, if the pain is still there, it's got to be a structural issue. Well, first of all, that's not true. We have studies all over the place that show that's not true. Another assumption is that this doctor would know what is going on when the vast majority of doctors out there don't understand the mind-body aspect, so they're not really super qualified to talk about this. They're very good for life or death things, for things that can alter your life for good, but for these mind-body things that are very painful but benign overall, because they can't harm you overall, even though they hurt a lot, they're not very qualified to say. So now let's get to the next part of the question. Oh, sorry, hold on, I didn't answer this. My question is, where does TMS enter with regard to the nerve pain? So a mind-body issue can affect any part of the body in every way that a body can function. My rule of thumb, this is kind of my motto, my TMS or mind-body motto, is that if the body can do it for one thing, it can do it for a mind-body reason. So basically, your mind can co-opt any physical process that you have and utilize it for a mind-body purpose. The nerves would just be another one of those things. So this is why I've never understood why a lot of mind-body practitioners say, oh, it's really all this or it's all this. It's the whole mind-body system. So whatever your body can do, it can be part of the mind-body system. Also, what proactive steps can I take to not have this turn into TMS pain as opposed to pain resulting from an injury? Well, the first step is actually to help you feel very certain without any doubt that this is TMS pain. A toe that you cracked 3 weeks ago really shouldn't have pain anymore for any structural reason. Toes heal very quickly. From an evolutionary standpoint, they get back to it pretty fast. So the first step is to help you get more convinced that this really is fully a mind-body issue, and then you start to challenge the doubt. But I don't know who this Facebook user is because I'm not seeing the name. So I'm sorry if I've already seen you or already talked to you. And Richard, I'm going to get to your question in a second. But you can look at the different columns. Each column is a tool to use to try to get better from this. So I would start with doubt, push back against doubt. Think about the logic of why would your toes still be hurt? Why would the nerves suddenly become inflamed? None of it makes sense. Challenge these theories that don't make a whole lot of sense. Okay, thank you for the question. Richard Nolan, or Nowlin. I hope I one of the two was probably right, but I find myself trying to fix my TMS all the time. How can I turn down the constant focus? All right, great question. There's many different ways that mind-body issues manifest, and this is part of why I have the system that I do. It is designed to target very different kinds of experiences within the overall experiences that people have. Richard, what you're talking about is actually one of two things, and it may be both. The first thing you said, I find myself trying to fix my TMS all the time. That could be what I call attentional TMS, where you can't stop paying attention to the symptoms. You can't get off of them and you don't know what to do about it, and it just takes up a big part of your mind. But it also could come from a kind of perfectionistic standpoint of trying to be the perfect mind-body recoverer. And I'm not presuming which one it is for you, but I just wanted to put it out there that it could be one or the other. And I'm going to answer the attentional side, but I want you to weigh back in if there's a perfectionist aspect, because that has a whole different framework that you would move towards. So, Richard, the thing that is the most helpful with attentional TMS, where you cannot get your mind to leave the state of mind about the symptoms, assessing the symptoms, seeing how you're doing, which I think is what you're referring to. That is power column work. The antidote to attentional mind-body issues is to find your powerful way of living and then live it. The power column is the way that you get away from the symptoms. That's the way that you live your life. I can say more about it, but the general gist is focus on that core narrative, focus on the trauma you've experienced, and most of all, for someone like you who's just trying to turn down the focus on the action steps of living your life powerfully and have that be the focus of your life. And once you have that focus, usually the attention goes away. Okay, we have another question from Facebook. Can you talk about the difference between themes in the emotions column and your core narrative? Can you give some more examples of core narratives? Okay. Great question, because the core narrative has a lot of overlap with the emotional themes. It both the core narrative and an emotional theme are broad, high stakes, and connected to a specific. So the core narrative has two differences, though, between emotional themes. The first one is it is like we've taken all the emotional themes. If we had to mash them into one, that would be your core narrative. People often ask me, is it possible to have two core narratives, maybe three? And I say, just make a longer sentence. It doesn't matter if the sentence is long like a Dickens novel. You want to get it all in there, but you may find that you can combine certain ideas. So the core narrative is like it's a summation that highlights the most important things, the most important themes, the most important high stakes aspects, and the most important specific things that have happened to you. I can make up core narratives, but the best thing to do to get a core narrative experience is probably to watch the power column videos that I do just in general. But the one I had with Daniel, where we actually formed a core narrative, is really very useful. And I'm going to have more people on doing those sessions. So when you see the power column segment, the Power Column episode of a 4-session consult, that's the one to look at. But I'll take a stab at it. I mean, let's say that somebody grew up with alcoholic parents and they felt, I don't know, abandoned by them in some way. So I'll get to this question from Christine soon. Let's just leave that one up and I'll get to it in a second. Again, I'm just making this theme up, but this is an example. If they felt that their parents weren't really there for them, the core narrative might come out like this. And I always say, listen, make a rough draft of it. You can hone it, but I'm making a rough draft of a made up one here. We could say, my parents often would sacrifice my needs to their own need to get away from their emotional life. And this would take the form of drinking. And then we would get to, well, what's the high stakes part of it? This would make me feel not seen, not important enough, and not loved. Again, just making this up, but this is the kind of thing that it could be. Then we get to the specifics of it in terms of its impact. The impact may have been, this affected my ability to trust all people and profoundly changed my life in that way. And then you get to the action step. What are you going to do about that effect it had? And the thing to do is make a choice that brings power. Now, it could be something like, I am going to learn to live my life in a present way so that I'm not like them. And I'm going to learn to value the people who can be with me in the present. And for those who can't, they immediately lose access to me. That's a powerful action step right there. So that's one example. I can say more, but I'm just giving one. I'll circle back to that if there's time. We have a question from Christine Lee McKinney. Hi, Christine. Welcome. And for those of you who haven't already, please do click subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, and hit like if you like what you're hearing, and put your comments below, and I'll get back to you personally. Christine says, hi, Dan. I had dizziness and lightheadedness for over a decade ago. It's back. Oh, boy. Well, I'm sorry, Christine, but not to worry. We will knock this out soon. Medically okay last time. Could this be doubt? I also just started a new job 2 weeks ago. Thanks. Horrible symptom. Absolutely. Dizziness and lightheadedness is very uncomfortable. So many of these symptoms are, but that's it's a really bad one. Christine, the chance of this being doubt is pretty much 100%. I would say, though, just because I don't know the circumstances and it's been a decade, I probably would just go to a doctor to get anything major ruled out, and they will rule it out because there's nothing wrong with you. I'm certain about that. Still, I would do that just to be sure. I'm not saying that to lead to more doubt. I'm 100% sure, but I would recommend that you do that just so that you can be 100% sure. The fact that you just started a new job, that shows that emotions column work that you may want to look at in terms of what is leading to this. But once you're cleared by a doctor, you can totally assume this is doubt. Sounds just like it. An old symptom coming roaring back it's a very powerful doubt setup, but you've done this before. I bet if you start challenging the doubt right now, you can actually knock this out tonight. It's not necessarily going to happen, but it could. And I would encourage you to work on it. And look, that's another way that you may not even have to go to a doctor. If you're pretty sure it's doubt, push against doubt. And if you see the symptoms start to move, that's a very good sign. Another question from Facebook. Also, people say, just go live your life. How to do that during a pandemic? LOL. Okay, now that's a great question. And I absolutely empathize with people about how hard a year and more this has been. The pandemic has affected a lot of people. I think that when people say go live your life, it can mean lots of different things. And one thing that I'd like to acknowledge is some people, especially people who don't understand mind-body issues, will say go live your life, but they are actually saying it in a way that's kind of unempathic. They're not recognizing what you're going through. They don't pause to say what is happening for you. So it's not go live your life like stop thinking about what's hard for you. But when it's said positively, or at least in a mind-body way, or the way that I might say it, I would be saying it meaning, hey, no matter what's happening outside of you, you get to decide who you are and what you're going to do about who you are and how you're going to live who you are in any given situation. And in that way, you can go live your life. I don't know if that answers your question enough, and I could certainly say more about it, but I would say the main thing is to give yourself the chance to recognize that how you live inside is, other than basic safety and sustenance, inside is what matters. You need safety, shelter, food, all of that. Absolutely. You need to be able to work and make money to be able to survive. If you have that, then you can go inside and find things that you can do that feel good to you. Okay. Hi, Linda. Linda Alarde has commented a number of times before, and I'm glad to see you back. In the past 3 weeks, I've noticed weird popping and cracking noises. Oh, this is a good one. I'm glad you're bringing this up. In my left hip, which has been diagnosed with osteoarthritis, it feels like the bones are shifting, but there is no pain. TMS, or a mind-body issue. Absolutely, Linda. Yes. One of the most convincing symptoms that the mind-body tends to rely on is sounds. It's so clear that there is something real happening in the body. But this is where I want to remind everybody again, it's always real. There is always a real thing happening in the body. The mind is capable of creating anything that the body can create. And included in that is popping and cracking sounds. Now, what is that from a physiological standpoint? This is funny because it brings back an episode of Cheers that I once saw where Woody discovered a term called synovial fluid. And what that is that is the fluid between your joints. And all it takes to get popping and cracking noises is a little bit of extra air pockets coming into that synovial fluid. And suddenly there are bubbles, and suddenly there's cracking and popping. And this is why that can happen at the drop of a hat. Is that mind body? Absolutely. Yes. Start to pay attention. In fact, that's almost always mind body, the cracking and popping stuff. I'd say at least 99.999% of the time. I'd go so far as to say it's almost completely 100. So yes, I would say that is a mind-body issue, and we can explore it further, or I can say more about it. Okay. Oh, just add, I'm engaging in life, but I do detect an underlying fear because engaging when in pain can really suck depending on the intensity of pain. Is this emotion, doubt, power, all three? Fantastic question. That one I need to think about a little bit. Not that I don't think of the other questions, but that was kind of a deep one, Linda. So I would say, it really depends on the person, which column is active, or is it all three? So first of all, if you have fear, it's definitely a doubt column issue. That's one of the 4 elements of doubt. So you do have a doubt column experience going on, but it could relate to something going on in the emotions column, and it can very easily slip into a power issue. So I would assess it for yourself. I would say definitely it's a doubt column thing. Is it an emotions column thing? Well, I think that's going to depend on whether there's an onset or uptick in symptoms, because that is going to speak to the fact that there's an emotion that is also being tied to this. As an example, you could be afraid, but one of your emotional themes might be, some of the people who are supposed to take care of me made me even more afraid. And then boom, you got an emotions column issue. Or maybe it bleeds over into the power column where you're saying, I have this fear and I don't think I can master it. And as a result, my symptoms have control of me. Suddenly you got a power column issue. So I think it's one you have to assess, Linda. And I'm happy to help you think that through. You can say more about it here and I will certainly answer. Christina Carlton, welcome back, Christina. Good to see you. Hi, Dan. How do you work with people who can't recall childhood memories or how they felt when they were children? Love this question. And this brings up a very important point. There's many great things actually about mind-body experience in terms of how it can help us and what we can understand from it. What I have found is you often, when you're processing your mind-body experience, don't need to recover memories at all because your body remembers it for you. what you're feeling in your body is what it felt like. So if you feel absolutely miserable, or let's say you feel dizzy, who was it that had the symptom of dizziness? I'm going to get back to that. Christine. So let's say you feel dizzy. That's how you felt then. Whatever your body's doing is how you felt then. So much of mind-body experience comes from pre-verbal things or things we cannot remember, the emotions column, anyway. And as a result, your body is telling you how you felt then. See if you can link it to what you know of your life, but you don't usually need to recall those memories to get better at all. If you take your body at its word, then you know how you felt because you're feeling it right now. Let me know if that makes sense to you. Christine says, thank you. How would you challenge the symptoms, the dizziness symptoms? It is a rough one. I didn't know about TMS when I had it before. Thanks again. Christine, that's going to take many different forms. So it really actually depends on what you are thinking about it. You have to challenge your thoughts about it. So I can't answer you in specific until I know what it is you're thinking about it, but I'll give you some examples. If you're thinking, maybe there's something wrong with my brain, which don't worry, there's not. You then would have to challenge that. First thing would be go to a doctor, just get it ruled out. And then you'd say, well, the doctor didn't find anything. So therefore this worry is unfounded, but I have to meet myself where I'm at, where that's the question I have. Or it could be that you're thinking, no, I know this is a mind body symptom, but I don't know, can dizziness be mastered? How it, or maybe you were thinking, what's the physical mechanism that would get better? Because the mind body process, remember, it alters an actual physiological process. You could be thinking, well, how's that going to get better? So you have to figure out what it is you're worried about, what it is you're doubting. And essentially, you have to always treat every mind-body symptom as if it's the same as any other mind-body symptom. Every mind-body symptom feels like it's the worst when you're having it, but you have to challenge it like it's any other. Julie, Christine, let me know if that makes sense. Now we're on to Julie's question. Insomnia, 20 plus years. Tried everything, but understand it causes even more pain. Suggestions. Okay, Julie, I don't know if you saw my video on insomnia. I'm not saying it is a cure-all, but it would be something to check out. So go to the Crushing Doubt playlist. It's in the how-to series, how to deal with insomnia. But I will give you some suggestions here. My first rule of thumb with insomnia, and this could sound very elementary, but a lot of times people have not thought about these things. The problem with insomnia is you start to get into a panic about it and you start to get into a cycle about it, and it makes going to bed not fun. And what you actually have to remember, number one rule for insomnia is enjoy the bed. Lie down in it, realize, good, I don't have anything to do. If you take the pressure off of falling asleep and instead enjoy lying there, it can often help you go right to sleep. Now, I'm not saying that's going to work for you, but that would be the first step. Another idea is to spend some time meditating. I have a certain way that I meditate. I'm going to do a how-to episode on how I meditate because I found it particularly useful. It's a way that you can kind of calm yourself down. I see where looks like Greg has put that in the comments. So feel free to click the link if that's the issue you want to look at. Learning to meditate is another way you can calm down the nervous system. It could be that your nervous system is up and firing. Whatever the case may be, my system is always designed to help you pinpoint what is going on specifically for you so that you can actually have a specific response. Here's another example, Julie, that may be playing a role. It could be that you are having a lot of emotional stuff come up around night. Maybe nighttime wasn't so easy growing up in some ways. Maybe it was, for a lot of kids, it's a scary time. It's a time of separation from other people. So there can be an emotional field that comes up there. And what I recommend there is to also, if that's what's going on, to spend, I'd say at least 15 minutes, 20 minutes maybe, thinking about the day and thinking about the emotional themes that come up. If you've done your mind-body map, I'd go through those emotions themes and see what's hitting me. And if you've done your core narrative, I'd spend some time thinking about that. The great thing about it is when you do that, it helps carry through to your unconscious, the conscious experience more. One of the problems with trying to fall asleep and having trouble with it is maybe your mind doesn't want to shut down because it's on high alert in some way. If you can get it to relax from an emotional standpoint, that'll help. So that's 3 suggestions, Julie. I hope they were helpful. Another comment from Facebook. I have suffered from foot pain for 18 years along with other issues. I believe I have TMS. Is wearing shoes in the house, as I've been suggested to do, perpetuating the issue? In other words, is doing preventative small things, I think, preventing me from getting better? No, there's nothing inherently wrong with doing these kinds of things. My rule of thumb is it causing doubt for you? If it's helping you with doubt, it's going to help. If it is adding to doubt and confusion, then it can get in the way. So what I would suggest to you that I think is going to be most helpful is for you to realize that it doesn't matter whether you wear shoes in the house or not. That's not going to be the answer. There's all kinds of suggestions that when we take a step back and think, does this actually make sense at a global level? That they don't. They're looking for a specific solution. I'm not trying to take away that solution from you, by the way. I'm just saying I think there's a huge advantage in taking a step back and seeing what's the big picture. Does this make sense in the big picture or not? Let me know if that answers the question, and feel free to ask me more as needed. Okay, the Mind Overweight podcast. Good to see you again. Many times I don't believe I'm recovering. Then I start to realize I'm making progress, but my faith wavers. I actually still have doubt and fear in the back of my mind. Yeah, this is a very, very common experience. And one of the reasons that I named the podcast Crushing Doubt is because doubt is so insidious. It can creep back in so easily. And I want to encourage you, the way to think about it is you're going to have doubt and you're going to have maybe fear, but you're certainly going to have some kind of doubt every single day. Doubt creeps into my brain in all kinds of ways. The thing is, I'm now so good at catching it that it really doesn't get very far with me. And what I'm hearing in this comment is that sometimes doubt is getting farther with you than we want it to get. It's okay if it gets a little bit of away, but we don't want it to get too far out. So one thing to highlight from what you said that I think is important, a lot of times people don't feel like they're recovering, but when they take a look at are they actually have the symptoms gotten better, usually they find that the answer is yes. It has gotten better. It's not all better, and sometimes that can feel very frustrating. But your job is to help yourself feel safe and proactive and convinced that if it's working a little, it can work more. And we just keep at it. We keep the pressure on doubt and we basically push it right off the map. Okay, Linda, getting back to insomnia. Actually, no, this is a sleep question, not insomnia. Julie was the insomnia question. Okay, Linda, you say, I fall asleep in minutes with breathing and meditation as well. Body scan meditations seem to really set me up for deep sleep. Curable has a wide variety of meditations. I'm grateful I can sleep. Thank you for this information, Linda. That's good to know. The Curable has that, some of these resources for that. Be on the lookout for my meditation video. I will do that in the next couple of weeks for sure, because it's such a very helpful method. And I do find that I sleep much more deeply when that happens. There are times, though, where my system is very activated. And when that's the case, I usually like to take a step back and think emotionally. What emotional themes are driving this? A lot of times you're trying to go to sleep, but your brain's not ready to do it because it's working on something. And those emotional themes are very important for getting to things. Brad Pedraza, good to see you, Brad. Yes, that helps a lot. So I'm guessing you were one of the Facebook commenters from before. It just said Facebook user in my feed, so sorry I couldn't respond to you before, but I'm glad that helped, and please do keep me posted if I can say more. Okay, Christine says, thoughts of what's medically wrong. Doubts of returning to work successfully, and am I powerful enough? I was forced to quit due to ulcerative colitis, which Dr. Clark says isn't TMS. I believe it is. Oh, Christine, that's a great set of questions and observations. And first of all, my heart goes out for you to anytime there's times where somebody in the mind body community says something where your symptom might not be a mind body thing, that's pretty hard. Now, I will say I don't know a huge amount about ulcerative colitis, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me that it wouldn't be very, very affected by mind-body issues, if not entirely caused by them. I'm not a medical doctor, so I don't want to come out and say that definitively, but I am very confident that you can get a lot of symptom relief from that. And when you have these thoughts of what's medically wrong, I would say get a doctor to rule out the basics. And after that, we can really, really push back against doubt, which comes in all the time. Now, doubts of returning to work successfully and am I powerful enough? That's power column work. And Christine, I know we've interacted some, but I don't know how far we've gotten in the power column department and getting you the information you need. So this is another good time to remind people that the seminars will be very, very helpful in going over the columns with a fine-tooth comb, talking about what makes them tick, how do they fit together, what do you do with them, how do you build them, and this is part of the reason why these are so helpful. And then if you have to come to see me individually, we're hitting the ground running. We've already got all the information out there, and that's part of why we're doing this. Okay, we have a comment from Sylvia Sierra. Welcome back, Sylvia. Good to see you again. I'm still having the once a week migraine attack after improving from daily chronic migraine. Well, I'm glad that we've cut it down to 1/7 of what it was, and now we've still got some work to do. Usually on the weekends. I'm so much better, but this one thing is so stubborn and frustrating. Okay, so first of all, I totally understand, Sylvia. It's so frustrating. It's frustrating when you're not getting any relief. It's also frustrating when you did get relief and then you kind of plateau in a certain way. But every time you run into a symptom that's not budging or a new symptom or whatever, it's an opportunity to get stronger from a mind-body perspective. And we can do this. We can crack the code. What we need to do is understand, why is it happening? This is not an accident. You said it's usually on the weekends, for example. I would look in the emotions column and figure out, is there something going on your weekends that is leading to that kind of experience? There's other places to look, though. You do have doubt coming up because you have a question. The question is, why did it get better from the daily migraines, and now it's hanging around? There has to be an answer to that question, but there certainly has to be that question lingering in the air for you. And that's a doubt column issue. And then in the power column, a lot of times when symptoms plateau or get stuck somewhere or they're very stubborn, it is a power column issue. So that's another place to look. Each column gives you a tool. Let's look in them and we will figure it out. But I want to encourage you. You make sense. This makes sense, and there is an answer. I'm not saying it's easy to find, but we'll work on it. You let me know if you need help. Okay, another question from Facebook. Can you talk about dorsal vagal, long-term freeze, and coming out of it feeling loads of stored intense emotion? Is there more that just allowing, sorry, hold on. Is there more than just allowing, is there more that just allowing and feeling the feel? Okay, I'm not sure what the last question is. If you can retype it, for some reason it's not coming across clearly to me. But the basic gist, I will try to answer. I think that if I'm understanding the question correctly, when you come out of, a trauma experience or something where you just didn't have good access to your emotions, yes, there can be a flooding of intense emotions. Often, this is a time where you can have a breakthrough, but it can be very overwhelming. So I think a question you were asking was, is there more to do than just allowing it to be and feeling the feelings? I think so. There's a difference between just allowing and feeling the feelings and letting yourself recognize that what you are feeling is what you did feel. It's the difference between just sitting in the feeling versus understanding what the feeling is and what it means. So when you understand what it means, it's a much more powerful experience. And that's what I would encourage you to think about. This is very much power column work. Think about what it means for you and how you can recognize what you've been through from a core narrative experience and then figure out an action step that you can take. And I'm happy to help. Please reach out to me if needed. Okay, we've got a comment from Jasper Hitchcock. Jasper, good to see you on here. I don't think I've seen you on the live. Oh, no, I think you were here last week, actually. So welcome back. Dyslexia has been my trauma growing up, and hiding that has made me fearful of being discovered. It has hurt my self-esteem and lack of power. Just wondering how you can overcome issues when there is something you mentally or physically can't change. I'm getting better, but will have that doubt keeping me in pain. Jasper, I feel for you very much, but I also want to encourage you. You're so powerful. And actually, when people struggle with something like dyslexia, it weirdly is an opportunity, because I know it's a huge suffering, and I have relatives and friends who have had dyslexia and other learning disabilities, and I absolutely know it can be the central issue of people's lives. But what I want to encourage you about is that you can turn that into a powerful thing. You can always turn who you are into a powerful thing. That's the power column for you. It doesn't matter what you have and whether it can't be reversed or changed. What matters is how you inhabit your power about it. For example, you could become an advocate for people with dyslexia, or you could start to feel powerful in being able to share your story instead of being ashamed of it. You don't have anything to be ashamed about. You didn't make this happen. It's not a sign of you being defective. Brains work differently. Dyslexia can often relate to people who are super intelligent in other ways. Maybe it's just your brain works differently as opposed to worse. Well, not maybe, definitely. It works differently, but not worse. You got to find a way to turn it into power. And whoever you are, it's good. You have to find that place. And that's what the core narrative really works on. Okay, we've got a comment from Tony Smith. Tony, welcome back. Good to see you. I remember you broke your shoulder, so now you're 6 weeks out from it. So she says, "Hi, Dan. I'm now 6 weeks out from a humerus fracture at the shoulder. I want to thank you for your previous advice." I almost said it was precious. I gave myself a compliment. Previous advice and support. No surgery. The bone is healed, and I had a clean MRI. Tony, that's great. I see that you continued this. So you say, "I'm now working through the pain of PT and regaining range of motion. It hurts more now than ever, but I know I'm on my way." Okay, so just a little thing to remember. Mind-body pain hurts worse than anything. So the fact that you're having a lot of pain actually is evidence of it being a mind-body issue. You're going to have a lot of doubt now, just for a little bit. When you have a purely physical injury, one of the things you need to think about is the trigger of that injury and the expectation of pain. It's kind of like the COVID side effect video that I did. As I said then, I don't know what was what. Maybe it was always going to go exactly that way. But I did know it was going to be a trigger no matter what. So I was going to fight the trigger. In this case, Tony, you've got a trigger. And what I would encourage you to do is trust that the body will heal. You're going to be totally fine. And if it persists, that's all the more evidence that it's mind-body, and then we can do something about that. So there's always something that we can do. Okay, I see from the Facebook user from before, I did get that question right, so I'm glad I answered your question, but let me know if you have more. Again, from Sylvia, thank you, Dan. Maybe it's that I usually get those weekend migraine attacks, maybe after trying to do too much and cram stuff in, either because the work week is ending or the weekend is ending. Yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot of emotions in all kinds of things, guys. So don't don't put it past yourself to have a feeling that about anything. You can have a feeling about, I wanted to go out to dinner and I couldn't, which of course a lot of people are having during the pandemic. So it's funny that that came to mind, but it can be as simple as that. Sometimes we are going to take just a couple more questions and then we'll wrap. But sometimes it's related to just simple resentment. I have resentment pains all the time, but when I recognize it for what it is, the symptom goes down. What's happening for you, Sylvia, though, is it's got you confused with questions and doubt, and maybe even fear. And I understand why, but as soon as we get it clear what is specifically going on for you, those migraines are done. It's happening soon. So we'll take a look. The Mind Over Weight podcast has another either question or observation. I used to suffer terribly with insomnia. We need to refer Julie to you. It started when I developed a fear of dying in my sleep. See, this is a reason sleep is so hard. A lot of people have that, and kids have that. And this is why it's so hard. Fear of sleep turned into fear of not sleeping because I heard the lack of sleep exacerbates anxiety and chronic pain. Then she says, LOL. It's good to be able to laugh at how our minds torture ourselves. I'm back to sleeping great again. So it just sounds like you've done a lot of work thinking this through. And I absolutely applaud that. And keep up the good work. But what you're showing illustrates that you can get fear from any angle. It can come from completely opposing angles. And it can bounce back and forth between the two. And we have to just keep working at it. Okay, guys, this was great. We had such an active audience. I didn't even get to a lot of the preloaded questions, so I will bring those over to next week. Or if people who had preloaded questions want those answered sooner, you can reach me at dan@crushingdoubt.org. I do want to remind everybody again, if you haven't already, click subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, hit like if you like what you're hearing, and put your comments below, and I'll get back to you personally. Also want to give a shout out to the option, which I think can help a lot of people to go to sign up for the seminars. They are at www.crushingdoubtseminars.org. And if you don't have the PDFs already, I'm giving those away with signups for the seminars. It's a $100 value, and they are very helpful information as well. And if you've already purchased the PDFs, just let me know and we'll make arrangements. I'll take this one last question because we got a new comment from Facebook from a person I haven't met before. So Sarah Leroy Ego. I think it's Igo, but sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Sarah, welcome. Thank you for joining us. I cannot sit and lay supine 22 plus hours of the day usually. I have been living homebound with pelvic and back pain. I've made progress in the past 3 weeks using Dr. Sarno's TMS protocols, however. Great. But I'm plagued with fight or flight anxiety with profound physiological manifestation. It comes on suddenly, and I've tried many, many strategies, but the sweeping anxiety takeover is like a motor inside me that crushes my sense of well-being. So Sarah, I totally get where you're coming from. I had 8 years of back pain myself, and it was terrifying, and it dominated my entire life. What I will say is that the chance that you are going to get better from doubt work is very, very high. And, if you did want to come to the seminar, I think that it could give you the information you need on doubt and power. Julie says, thanks. Thank you, Julie. Thank you all. But aside from the seminar, even though I do recommend that, Sarah, I would say what you need is information on doubt. Doubt is, just by definition, the lack of certainty. But any questions you have, confusions you have, and fear, they cement the symptoms. And I suspect that is a big part of what's going on for you. So feel free to reach out to me, Sarah, and I'm happy to help you with that, or sign up for the seminar, and I will see you then. But guys, it has been a pleasure. This is a lively, fun audience, some of the best people I know. So keep up the good work. You guys are doing a great job adapting my system and making it things that work for you in your system. And I'm proud of you. Keep up the good work, everybody. And thank you again, Sarah. She says, thank you. Thank you all. I look forward to seeing you again next week, same time, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, every Monday.